Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob. Alongside me tonight, I have also from Central Florida, the young generation YZ whatever person, Professor Pixel, aka Old Man Myers, tonight. As we, of course, are talking about Halloween Ends, the alleged end of the current reimagined trilogy, done by the same people that brought us a really shitty film in the second one, and I thought, a thoughtful one in the first one, for a very divisive swing for the fences with a weak ending third film that I'm going to defend in some spots and eviscerate in others. I think this is a film a lot more interesting to talk about than the second film, which I did not like. And if I recall a year or two ago, Professor Pixel, that you actually liked the second film. So let me ask you, going into this third film, I think we both liked the first film. I think a lot of people were pleasantly surprised by it, especially with John Carpenter's involvement. There was a lot of divisive elements in the second one film, and to not really get into it too much except for what you need to for this third film, I will say that I went into the Halloween Ends going, I'm going to see it only like a James Bond film because I'm fans of both franchises. And unfortunately, the Bond films for the Daniel Craig's tenure, except for maybe the first one, I thought were horrible and some of the worst Bonds of all time. You and I, of course, are covering each one of those on a monthly basis here on the Extreme Movie Show. We just got done with The Spy Who Loved Me. Get ready next month for Moonraker. But for Halloween, as bad as some of the Curse of Thorn and some different versions that exist out there, some of these movies, other than the rap one, the haunted house one, internet streaming one, I actually don't mind the Halloween movies by and large. So this third one, I was a bit apprehensive, and I came out of it going, you know what? It was different enough that it worked. Whether it worked for you or not, it'll be interesting. But I definitely think there's some very obvious themes to talk about here, and what they chose to do with it. Whether or not that was good for them or the franchise, we'll also get into here towards the end of Halloween Ends. Get it? Huh? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right, so give it to me. Talk to me about two and going into this third one. What was your initial take?
So I didn't see it when it first became available. I waited a couple days and I saw it finally last night. And I had been hearing some takes on it with no spoilers, just hearing that people found it interesting. Some people found that interesting to be bad. Some of it found it to be, that I'm not going to say it's quite good, but it's very interesting. And I understand why now, because I wasn't expecting this. Like, out of all the ways that I expected Halloween to end, the path to get there was a way that I did not expect us to take. It should be fine without saying we're going to go into spoilers here.
Yeah.
Duh.
Anybody has already seen it.
Yeah, that's right. If you haven't seen it, are you even alive? You said you wanted to talk about the opening gambit, and it's actually taking place, I believe, a year after the original Halloween night for this trilogy, obviously, which is 2018. Yes. So in 2019, Halloween night, this young man gets called to babysit a boy, and this kid's a brat. He's horrible. Like, he is the worst. And pretty much as they're watching The Thing on television, which out of all the horror movies, The Thing, that's another matter. But as they're watching The Thing, it just gets revealed how much of a snotty little brat he is, and he disappears. After that, after this kid, Corey, goes into the kitchen. And then everything falls because he's gone, and there's these creepy noises. The knife disappears. It seems like that perhaps, Michael Myers is there, until you can hear the kid go ahead and scream upstairs, "Help me." Yeah, sure. And he gets locked in the attic. And the kid reveals it to be a prank.
Yep.
The parents are coming home early at that point. And Corey is terrified. He's this weak weak looking kind of young guy.
Do you think
Kinda-
he's representative of your current young 20-something today? I think he's very representative of the population. I'm only half joking.
I think that he might like a subset of them, maybe.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say every young guy is like Corey, but
Well, he does not have a hipster look.
no. But basically, the major death that starts us off, Corey kicks the door, and the kid, this fucking idiot kid, is standing right there as Corey is kicking and kicking, and finally the door jam breaks. It hits back. You can see there's like this oof as the kid gets hit and falls over the stairwell, hits the ground because this house has like 4 stories. It's ridiculous. But the kid hits the ground, blood's coming out, parents screaming, "What did you do?" And that's our start.
When I first started watching this, let's keep it in context again. After the events of the second film, it was quite obvious to me, growing up as a fan of the movie from the 70s and the 80s, that watching this real time, and of course being a John Carpenter mark as I profess on this channel, that again, with my apprehension going in, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know how you're going to do it, because we all know that in 10 years they'll probably reboot it again. Some people will do it, and that's fine.
Yep.
As long as Carpenter gets paid or his estate, nobody gives a rat's ass. And unfortunately, with as bad as movies have been the past 20 years or so, generally speaking, I think the overall quality's gone down. The volume of movies has gone up, and television. You're going to have a lot of meh stuff, as you like to say, mid. And to me, I hated the fact that we did not get a Halloween movie in the second one. We got a PC wokish kind of thing with the events going on at that time in America put into the film, which is Michael Myers as the template for it, which happens. I get it. I didn't want that. So with how artistic I thought the first movie was, going to the second one, I was, of course, a little bit enraged and just said, well, fool me once, shame on me, all that crap, whatever. I didn't know what to expect. So seeing this guy, I had the same effect you did. I was like, he's not pretty. He's almost handsome, but he's getting ready to go off to college to be an engineer. He's a good-looking guy in a very I'm not even hit puberty yet sort of look. I'm trying to watch how I say it because it sounds weird, but he enraged me. I went, oh my God, they're going to have a male babysitter. And I've was a babysitter in my neighborhood growing up, so as a male, and I was perfectly fine with it. But he just pissed me off, and I thought, boy, how are they really going to fuck this movie up, right? And they have him with the glasses, and he's smiling, and he's just a sweet guy. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, who the fuck is he? And I'm like, oh. Unfortunately, like Nancy Drew with the reboot, I've had to readjust expectations on what to expect on old franchises I liked. But he's Frank Hardy from the Hardy Boys, which season 1 was okay. Season 2 got mystical. So I'm watching Frank Hardy as a babysitter. I'm like, okay, whatever, just roll with it. Let's see how they do Michael Myers. And then I noticed the lack of music. I noticed the lack of really anything Halloweenish in it right off the bat. So it was different. And then I thought, yeah, this guy obviously has got a really shitty kid, so I'm not liking him. I'm hating the little kid as a little brat. So you're right. I'm already 5 minutes into it going, I'm almost getting ready to change the channel or walk out of the theater or whatever, because I'm not liking anything. I'm not anchored to anything. But due to the lack of music and due to the fact that this kid was, as a babysitter, was nice, when he accidentally got locked upstairs, because he actually said, hey, do you want to play hide and seek? The kid was a little snotbag, and of course they're watching The Thing, which is John Carpenter's homage to A Thing from Another World. And I know you're not a fan of the movie, although I am. It was kind of neat that it was in there and on a modern day TV set and everything. So the setup was good, and some of the shots are good, but no music. And then when the babysitter kicks the door open, Corey's his name, and actually knocks the kid over, and the way you see the kid fall down and hit himself without music, I went, shit, they got it right. It hooked me in.
It
totally
made
agree.
me jump. I didn't expect that.
Exactly. And I see, you know what? They did this right. So I was like, okay, I'm with you. And then you get some Halloween stuff as you start off, and you find out this kid basically gets off on involuntary manslaughter, but his life's wrecked. So he's got a reason to not be a happy camper, as it were. And he's working with, I guess, his don't know if it's his father-in-law or what, but or it's just his dad at a junkyard repairing stuff. And it gets interesting because I got to say this about this movie. It feels very modern day. And I love the way it looks. I love the way it's shot. They're in a part of town that's not the best. And you see some old characters and all that. And I thought this whole setup, I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This is not a Halloween film. And so the idea is are they showing this kid turning into Michael? And obviously there's some classic shots if you're fans of the original film where he goes to meet Allison and he's standing outside by
The
the
window
hedge
down there,
and
just
his mom's looking at
staring.
him. It's great. We see so let me hand this over to you by describing the scene here where he goes to buy his friggin' chocolate milk because he's a good boy. Good boys drink milk.
Yeah.
It does the body good. Of course, it's chocolate, so it's not pure. So is that a symbolism of evil? I don't know.
No, God.
Well, that's what it was thought of back. I'm just saying, it's not pure vitamin D milk because nobody wants that 2% or skim crap. I mean, that's not what you did when you drank milk back in the 80s. I'm just telling you. So
I love chocolate milk. Okay,
I do too, but you would get, Yoo-hoo or something else or whatever. You wouldn't buy it like that. But the point is we meet some of the worst, most I can't wait for these guys dies ever group of thugs and miscreants that all have really horrible Boston type accents that
Yeah.
weigh all about 100 to 120 pounds each. And of course, they bully him and he kind of freaks out. And that's when we see mommy show up there too. So let me hand this over to you so you can vent a little bit about what's going on. Take us further into the film.
Yeah, no. So we're at this point right now. Corey is just trying to get his chocolate milk, trying to live his life. Oh, look, I got a motorcycle. I'm going to have to fix that up, but it's going to be fine. But he gets chocolate milk after getting nagged at by the woman up front, like she has somewhere better to be. But that's when,
He's acting like a bitch and he's taking it like a bitch.
Yeah, like a stereotypical bully group steps out and they're seniors and they're like, did you bring the ID? No, you didn't bring the ID. What do you mean you didn't? And then they look and see Corey and they ask, hey, friend, no friend, why don't you listen, just for me and my friend, we're playing the big game tonight. We want to prep up. So mind going in, grabbing a couple 6-packs, and Corey, because he is a good milk drinking strong bone boy, says no. And that's when the head of this group says, wait a minute, I know you psycho, you're the one that killed the kid. And that's when oh crap, Lori is right there in her truck and says to pretty much leave him alone. And she's able to just eventually talk him away, but they're treating her with disrespect too. Oh, look, it's the freak and the psycho. And that's when Lori picks him up. His hand is hurt because his hand crushed that glass bottle.
Did you get which hand it was?
His left hand.
Sinister side, the hand of the devil. Just saying.
But yeah, with that, she helps him up, takes him to the clinic where her daughter works, and sets him up. The daughter is she is weirdly suddenly into him. Like it's a little odd. Keeps giving stares. I mean, I suppose it makes sense with the current trend of liking psychopaths.
No, I will say this. After the opening, which we just talked about, Allison is cute. I'm sure in real life she's better looking because, she always has been in a lot of stressful situations and all that too. She comes in her own sexually in this movie, and that's literally a theme of it that I thought was done very well, because my first thought too was I'm looking at it going, oh, her panties are all wet over this guy. And I'm like, this guy's a goober, but she doesn't know that yet. And he is probably one of the better looking things in this town, let's be honest. So the fact that that Lori is kind of basically setting up Allison with Corey, and frankly, he's got a girl's name. Let's be honest. I've known a few male Corys over life, but anything that ended like that back in the day, you'd get beat up over. So I don't know if that was intentional here. I don't know why they came up with that. But the point is, to your point, she's immediately infatuated with him, because a big part of this is as we saw here with a kind of a catch up. Lori's moved on. She's just trying to. She's got her own place now with Allison, and life is fairly normal, I guess, at this point. So she's just trying to get, Allison some of the big D juice. You know what I'm saying?
So with this, it sets the tone, because these two quickly fall to each other. She gets to go to this costume party because she doesn't want to go alone, but there's this cute guy, so maybe she'd be interested. And this guy can't dance to save his fucking life.
It's so white.
So it is the whitest.
You know what? I'm not going to lie. It's white dancing.
Yeah. That is it. And he's on the floor, and her hands are over him, and that scene gets mirrored later. But with that, there is a sudden turn. They're having a good night. He goes to the bar, and the mom of the kid he killed is there.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, and she basically runs him out. And with all that, he goes and leaves, and he's walking. And that's when the punk kids, they pull up. Hey, I've been looking for you. I don't know why this guy came straight from Boston.
It's transfer.
Yeah. But ultimately, they knock him down under this bridge that we've been looking at a couple times, where an old hobo is there. And they think he might be dead, and they're not going to go down. It was an accident. That's my story. He fell, and they leave. That's when he gets dragged in. And ultimately, he is in the hidden den of Michael Myers.
I did not like in a second film how supernatural strong he was. And you talk about the firefighter scenes and all this other stuff. I thought, you're going back and forth on what the hell you want to do with Michael. I really despise that. I kind of like the idea of the whole town beating the shit out of him supposedly at the end, and not knowing how the hell they were going to deal with it, as absurd as him getting out of the fire was. So I didn't know what to expect, right? Mm-hmm. So what I thought in this film here is we actually see what do you do when evil's dead? Well, life moves on. So what do? You try to find some happiness, because we even see Lori, and Frank kind of talking a little bit, and Lori's playing with her hair, and she's older, of course. But I'm going, you know what? I don't have a problem exploring romance here, because what are you going to do when evil's subdued? You don't get a chance to find happiness all the time, so it's a struggle to find it anyway. And I thought every man should have a woman like Allison in here, who's not only fit and capable and cute, good looking, whatever you want to call it, a catch, in other words. She's got her own stuff that's made her screwed up, so she's by no means a princess. And every man should have one woman that is so into him as much as she's into this guy, and this guy doesn't know how to handle it. He doesn't. He's in a tough situation because what happened with him accidentally killing his kid. And he also knows who Allison is, so he knows that she's come from some messed up stuff. But she takes the lead in the romance. And there's a scene even when she goes to drop her car off at the junkyard to get the rattle fixed on it or whatever, because we saw the cop who was hitting on her. I guess she was boning at one point or dating. But she's like, forget the rattle. I came here to see you. And then when she mounts the motorcycle, she does so not in a slutty way, but in a very seductive sort of way. And I'm like, okay. And then, of course, you see where the bullies are there too, and they see it. So we all know this is building tension for a head. Yeah. But when he got pulled allegedly into what might have been the home of the bum we had seen a little bit, into this little sewer thing.
Well, no, we know it's not, because the bum is watching from outside.
I know, but that's my point. Is I'm going, wait a minute. Is this kid messed up in the head so he's seeing things? Is him standing by the hedge, even though that's a shot homage for us as watchers? It's something that, where Lori just sees these things where she wants to, because that's what she's just seeing. I thought, what if Michael doesn't exist in here, and so the whole does Halloween end because he's now going to be one of these? I thought, well, this is originally what he was supposed to be, a force of evil that would do whatever. And you could talk about the curse of Thorn and all the other stuff they're ignoring. But I kind of like this part. Of course, spoiler alert, I don't give a rat's ass. Michael's still around. But what was interesting about here is that he almost looks up to Michael as a father figure in a way, in that
Yes.
he brings him a body and says, show me how to do it. And you see him weak and feeble. And you even see Michael. I don't like the way Michael was treated in here. That's one caveat, but I'm supposed to fear him, not look at him and go, wow, he's old. Even though he's about 70 years old movie wise, right? And Laurie's in her 60 or something.
Yeah, it's been like 4 years since
Yeah. So the shots inside this are incredible, where Michael kind of, you see him in the background where he's looking around, and if you don't look hard, you miss him, and then you see him there, and it's almost like he's stuck in the side of the wall. So it's like, is he really there? Is this kid
I gotta
head? I like how they did this.
I gotta admit, and we're going to have to pretty much speed that along. There's this moment afterwards where he goes outside, he escapes Michael's grasp. Like,
Yes.
he looks into Michael's eyes, he sees something, he pulls back, and
Great
he's able to
scene.
get out.
Yes.
And that's when this old bum says, "You gotta stay in there," and pulls out a knife to go ahead, and the kid twists it around, stabs the bum.
Yeah.
And that's when the dark path begins.
So
And
now he doesn't have his glasses. Is he turning into Michael?
Yep. And so with that, there's a scene after he meets with Allison, and we get to see that douchebag cop again.
Yep.
And he comes by, and that's when he goes ahead. He drops her off. They have their scene. He's feeling good, but he leads him to the bridge.
Yep.
And takes him under. And we say that, yes, Michael's old, but we don't see that until now, because as these two are teaming up to kill this cop, Michael gets to grab the knife, and he's limping over, and he starts stabbing, and you can see the strength return to him.
It's cool, isn't it?
It's awesome.
It's a great scene. It's a great scene.
It's freaking amazing. It's exactly how it should be, because with years of just sitting there, that's what he does. When he's not killing, he's not Michael Myers.
Yeah.
And to watch that, to lead into the next death, I understand where people might be frustrated in watching Michael not take all the glory in every kill here.
Yes.
Because it's actually this, it is almost like an apprenticeship.
Yeah. That's exactly how I thought about it.
And this kid, Corey, is just so tired of everything. So it's Halloween night, and he decides, like his mom kicked him out. Says, "I smell on you," blah blah blah, and she
kissed him on lips too. There's a weird.
Yeah, no, that's very. But he sleeps on the floor of the house where he killed the kid, and he wakes up one morning, and who's there but the person who's been suspecting a dark turn in him?
Yep.
It's Lori, and she's saying, I want to help you. I've tried to, but I can't let you do this to Allison. Allison comes from so much rough stuff. You can't have her." And he goes ahead. He says the line that he gets to repeat later. "If I can't have her, no one can." And
go ahead.
With Lori, she pulls a Michael, then just disappears suddenly.
She does. And again, was she really there? The answer is yes, but we don't know that, and that's what in this third part of the film, because the ending will only take here a minute or two, in my opinion. I think is great, because in the background of all this, we see at the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, you get to see Allison working, and there's the bimbo, super hot redhead, smoking hot, a friend of hers, not coworker, that ends up getting the promotion I was going to, because she's boning Dr. Mathis.
Yeah.
And of course, we see Michael and Corey taking her out, literally, at his place because he's of course promoter, and she comes over and she's got a gorgeous body, and he's body, and this dude's such a Mac. He's not only does he play some weird music that not younger people won't know, he's got the champagne that whatever, and she knows what she's doing. She's
Yeah.
he's a sugar daddy. And she walks into the bedroom to clean up or whatever, and he'd already bought her a real nice dress. Of course she gets killed in, maybe, kind of, sort of, yes, but you see where Corey and Michael team up, and it's a great little step. So you know what's coming, and it's not gratuitous. Hey, here's 20 teenagers that we don't care about that are getting whacked, right? So
But
to me,
there's this scene that people have been complaining about that I can't agree. I can't agree. Corey decides Halloween night, yeah, burn it down. Look, I can't be here anymore. I got to get out. So meet me at the diner at 9 to Allison, and
they're going to run away like star-crossed lovers.
But before that, he has to finish what he started.
Yep.
And he goes into the sewers. He struggles with Michael. And it's not like I don't see it as just plain, oh, he beats Michael. Michael is put to the ground and the mask is taken off.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately keeps Michael Myers down at that moment, as he takes the mask for himself and leaves. But we do get to see a cool sit-up shot of Michael.
But you also get to see where, and we'll speed this up here because we're finishing up here, getting ready to go live at 7 p.m. Eastern time too for another live review. And so for Halloween, I'll just say this middle scene is like an emo movie because there's this romance going on between the two. I don't mind watching these star-crossed lovers. Yeah. She's messed up. There's the whole symbolism of his hand because she's looking at going, well, it's infected now and all that. They go to the radio tower, which I'm like, oh, I don't need to see that, especially not after watching Fall. I'll check our review out here on the Xtreme Movie Show. But it's a nice little setup. And probably the piece de la resistance, probably one of the best scenes in all three of these films, is what I'm going to call the DJ scene, because the black guy comes out and he starts busting their ass for hanging around private, tells him to get the fuck out of here before he fucks him up or whatever.
Should have been Busta Rhymes.
Stop it. But, we see where Corey falls down and sits up like Michael and turns and doesn't seem to realize it. But you see when Michael takes care of what happens inside the radio tower, and the guys, all I'm going to say, I'm going to call it the record player scene. That's all I'm going to say. So I will leave that spoiler free, if you will.
Yeah.
But the whole idea here at the end is this: they're going to run away together because they're star-crossed lovers. Is he turning into Michael? Can she save him? She doesn't really know. They just know that they're together. And at the end, all I'm going to say is I think they wimped out because they tried to make Michael supernatural, which, whether you agree with that or not, that's fine. I think even though I thought the fight scene with Laurie was done decently in the kitchen, there's obviously a religious theme to all this where, you go underground, you come back out, you're a different person, you're resurrected, for lack of a better term. And we see where Michael literally gets pinned and basically almost crucified on the kitchen table, especially when she dumps the refrigerator on him. And of course, Allison doesn't really,
the wrist.
Exactly. And then what I don't like here at the ending is I thought, what's going to happen with Laurie? What's going to happen with all this? Because if they reboot it in 10 years, where are you going to leave it? And I think you have to carry it on. And the way I thought was, how are they going to do it? Because the shocking scene is when Corey and Laurie get into it, and we think Michael's going to kill Laurie, and it's Corey. And almost a similar thing happens where they get into a fight, and she's got the knife. After shooting him, she tosses away. She's like, come here, kill me, And he's like, well, like I said, if I can't have her, and he kills himself, putting Laurie in the exact same position he was in, which I'm like, fuck, I like that little turn. And I thought, I was getting really hyped up here. I was getting a semi-chub because I thought, if they get to have Michael and Laurie fight, and like say Michael dies or whatever, or just is in the battle and kills Laurie, and then you have Allison basically defeat Michael, I think Allison becomes it. And not only have you gender swapped and you've now said this is how we could make Michael in the future and have it be Allison, you would understand it. It would make sense. I'm not saying you're going to root for it. I totally thought that, because here they wimp out and they say, you know what? Let's take Michael and let's take the town. Let's go to the junkyard and let's throw him through a big metal grinder and call it a day.
No, I got to disagree with you here.
Oh, it was a shitty weekend.
I think the ending here is quite solid. I think the problem that a lot of people have is this wasn't Michael's movie. So in the sense of the trilogy, it's getting Lori back out into the world, trying to free her of that fear. And Michael does come back, and she's been preparing. She's been right. She's ready to fight, and they have that fight. But the second movie is Michael's movie. It's Michael's rampage on Haddonfield, and he's killing left, right, and center. It's just murder galore, and that fuels him. But then that night ends, and he hides underneath the town, and he just becomes the shell of himself until Corey reawakens that. And with Corey's pain, he's able to see a darkness within himself. It's a twist of his own life. And Michael, at the end here, while he does die, Laurie says, evil never truly dies. And I think that's the major theme of the second one. The town itself takes an evil turn out of their fear.
Yep.
And with us coming here, they do get to kill Michael Myers. This is Laurie's end, and she no longer has to fear anymore. Neither does Allison. And if they had made Allison the killer, like the little girl in Halloween 4 standing at the end of the top of the stairs, I wouldn't have felt.
No. It's
that's
just,
not
how were you going to do it? You know, like to me, I'll just say this and we'll wrap it up, is I do like how Laurie explains the two types of evil, the one that's external to the tribe and how you defend it versus the one that's inside you, and it's a key element. So it could have went either way. I just think the other way might have been more initial shock value rather than what you're talking about, but I think it could still work either way. I really do. I just felt like they wimped out.
For me, it's the execution of some of the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
Pardon me. The romance, some of the writing is just freaking weird. And with that, I think that it's hard to say that I truly, like, I don't love this movie, but I like a lot about it. I like the ending. I like that they actually smarten up. Oh, well, you know, he's not dead enough. So they throw him in the wood chipper just to make sure. And to see his body just crumpled out, it's an end. It's an end. That's why in 10 years, they can't do a soft reboot. They have to hard reboot. And they can't pull this move again.
I will close with this. Out of the three movies, it's the most original, and because I agree with you on it being interesting. So it's definitely worth watching. Certainly more than the second one. While the first one was okay, I think this one's the most memorable because of what they chose to do. They did swing for the fences, and sometimes you swing, you hit, and sometimes you don't. So it'll be interesting to see what feedback we get on it. Everybody, we're getting ready to jump over for Dracula Untold live here in just a moment with RDV, the three of us. So check us out. We're going to be going over there in a couple minutes too. I'd like to thank Pixel for showing up and you guys as well. Halloween Ends, we wanted to drop in a quick emergency stream because there was a lot of talk going on about it because it is that different. You could say it's an extreme ending. For Professor Pixel, say thank you. Have a good night. And as always, stay extreme. Check us out on Dracula Untold in just a few minutes.
Good night.